Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. I'm Julie and today you are joining me on a brand new video. It is called Design Trends I Love but Most People Hate. This video isn't one that's going to be super trend specific. I consider trends anything that is design related. We could be talking about an interior design feature or a home decor product that you could be using to decorate in your home. So if you're looking for a video that can celebrate your unique individuality and design preferences without caring about what anybody else thinks, this video is for you. The first trend on my list is maximalism. If this is your first time on the channel, hi, my name is Julie and I am a maximalist. I received a comment from a viewer recently who stated that she landed on my channel and I kept on saying that I was a maximalist, and she being a minimalist, she was immediately turned off. It wasn't until YouTube's algorithm kept recommending my videos that she ended up just watching one video and then started binging 2, then 3, then 4, and then realized even though I'm a maximalist, I share a lot of tips that any design style can benefit from. Let's first break down what maximalism really is. Maximalism is founded on a love of color, prints, bold features, of vibrant items, a lot of statement-making pieces that could mix and match differently in a home. Although maximalism tends to have an affinity for the more is more aesthetic, it doesn't mean that your home looks like a hoarder's paradise. On the contrary, maximalism has really thoughtful interpretations of things that land in your home, so it looks like a collected, curated interior instead of something that looks like a mishmash of just thrifted items. For me, more is definitely more. I am inspired by color. I love mixed prints. I love mixed metals. I just like a home that really speaks to everything that I've collected and loved over the years. Now that I have a growing family and 2 daughters, a baby and a toddler, my home is just littered with toys, and I get it. This is just the phase and the transition that I'm in now. So there are some rooms with a minimalist vibe, like my garage turn studio and the girls' toddler room, but for the most part, all the common areas in my home feature a lot of prints, a lot of color, a lot of mixed materials, and a lot of mixed time periods. Which leads me to the next item on our list. It is gilded ornate furniture. I remember at the beginning of my interior design career when I was just starting out in trade school, I was really into the Bauhaus movement. Now, if you're familiar with Bauhaus design style, it has very angular, abstract, geometric shapes with very little ornamentation. And that was what I was drawn to initially when I started my interior design career. It wasn't until I started diving into my art history class in trade school that my love for ornamentation began. I realized that not only did I love ornamentation, I really loved the Baroque and Rococo periods from previous French empires. We're talking about gilded sofas, gilded settees, full-on beds. I just really loved that sort of ornamentation that had such an artistic quality to it. In my senior year of trade school, I had the absolute honor of interning for Kelly Wearstler. And Kelly Wearstler is, of course, as most of you know, the queen of maximalism. When I landed in her studio, it was really love at first sight. It was more, is gold, is gilded. It was everything I loved about French Empire periods mixed with Hollywood Regency, and of course my love for everything gold was born. But we are not talking about cheap brass furniture, cheap plated brass. There really is a difference between the ornate ornamentation that goes into gilded furniture that was hand finished, hand gilded. You can see all of the little intricacies of gold leaf layered on carved furniture with a little bit of red peeking through behind it, and it's just fabulous. I mean, it was such a far cry from the Bauhaus movement and everything modern and everything angular and everything geometric that I realized that was where my personal design aesthetic was born from. The next item on my list, which is also another Kelly Wearstler favorite, is antique mirror. Antique mirror is mirror that has been oxidized. You can have antique mirror that is actually antiqued, which means it has been oxidized over time, or nowadays you can actually specify mirror that is antiqued in the factory. It's made to look like it's aged, it's made to look like it's old. Antique mirror differs from clear mirrored glass in that you can kind of see these little specks of oxidation. It can have specks in it, it can have veining in it that looks like it's been aged over time. I love antique mirror because it has a very old world finish. I mean, it looks like it's been there forever. Now, there's a difference between antique mirror panels, which is what I'm talking about, versus mirrored furniture. I don't like mirrored furniture, especially mirrored bedside tables. As you might have learned from my channel, mirrored furniture, especially in the bedroom, is a huge feng shui no-no. Mirrors in the bedroom reflect too much active energy, especially in a place of yin rest. You don't want too much activity, too much reflection happening in a bedroom, especially when you're supposed to be sleeping. It disrupts your normal sleep cycle, and it's bouncing around too much activity and energy. Next on the list is open shelving. Open shelving is one of those design features where you either love it or you hate it. The camp that loves it actually have it in their homes, and the camp that hates it usually attributes their disdain for all of the dust that collects, the fact that they can never keep it tidy, that you're constantly having to clean it up and style it in a way where it looks presentable. Now, I'm not talking about open shelving in any other room other than the kitchen. I remember before I purchased my home, I had these Pinterest boards full of open shelving in the kitchen. The minute that you have open shelving in the kitchen, you know that you are sacrificing an entire wall of upper cabinetry. Now, that might make sense for a single or a couple. What if you have a huge family that you need closed cabinets and drawers to hide all of the junk behind? The open shelving works in my kitchen because, number one, it is above the sink and not near the stove or the range. I could see open shelving next to the stove or the range collecting so much dirt and grime and grease that there's no benefit to having it there. I'm constantly having to clean it. But since my open shelving is opposite of the stove, it's so functional for me. The minute the dishes are dried and washed, I simply place it right back onto my open shelving. I use these plates, dishes, cups, and stemware every single day, so I rarely have to dust it. I probably only dust my open shelving once a year, and that's right before Lunar New Year when I do a deep clean in the whole house. Other than that, because I use all of the dishware every single day, it doesn't need dusting at all. So if you don't currently have open shelving in your home, don't knock it till you try it. The next item on my list is velvet. We're talking about everything velvet. Velvet furniture, velvet upholstery, velvet drapery. I love velvet, and I'll tell you why. I have reupholstered so many furniture items in my home with performance velvet, including the dining chairs that I'm sitting on now. Now, not all velvet is created equally. If you're using velvet for upholstery like chairs or sofas or even a headboard, you want to make sure that the velvet doesn't have a super high pile. If it does have a high pile, there is a propensity for it to crush under weight. So if you're sitting on this velvet, you'll see the imprint of where you're seated on it, or if you're laying back on the velvet, especially on a headboard like the one I have in my own home, you'll see the areas where it's been crushed under your weight. But don't despair, you could easily revive velvet by steaming it. Now, you absolutely have to steer clear of crushed velvet, either with drapery panels or upholstered furniture, because it's just going to look like a bad Halloween costume that you have year-round. The next item on my list is lacquer. Lacquer is a modern wood finish with a high gloss shine that's typically used on high-end furniture. Lacquered furniture almost has like a really thick top coat to it that is impervious to water and doesn't yellow over time. Lacquer dates back to the early 1920s, which is also the height of the Hollywood golden era. As much as I love mid-century Hollywood Regency styles and design, that is why I love lacquered furniture. You can mix lacquered furniture with old ornate wood antiques and it gives it such a fresh vibe. A lot of you write in and ask me how to mix old antiques or heirloom furniture in a fresh and modern way. My advice is to always think about contrasting finishes. If you have an antique piece of furniture in like a matte wood finish, you can mix that with a high gloss lacquered piece of furniture and it just vibes so well off of each other. The contrast in finishes, contrast in colors, contrast in mediums make for a really dynamic space that almost vibrates visually when you look at it. Lacquered furniture to me just really looks high-end. Now we're not talking about an entire room filled with high gloss finishes because too much of a good thing doesn't make anything feel special anymore. So you want to pick one key item that is lacquered or one key item that is ornate or one key item that has antique finishing to it, and really that is the star of the room. While we're on the topic of lacquered finishes, I also really love lacquered walls, lacquered molding and trim, and lacquered ceilings. You will see lacquer come back in a really huge way this year for 2023, and it's really in a response to all of the matte finishes that we've been seeing. The next item on my list is wall-to-wall wallpaper. You might remember from my 10 easy ways to make your home look more expensive video that wallpaper was one of my top tips to make a home look more expensive. Well, number one, wallpaper is expensive. You might be able to specify a relatively inexpensive paper, but the labor itself to install it professionally is not inexpensive. I've installed wallpaper myself and it's not for the faint of heart. You have to consider all of the repeats in the pattern, the existing texture that's already on your walls. There are so many nuances to installing wallpaper that I always recommend hiring a professional to install it. To me, there is nothing that compares to the visual interest and impact that wall-to-wall wallpaper makes. Imagine stepping into a room with this really beautiful pattern on the walls. It has a really soft texture to it. It has this really three-dimensional quality to it that you can't just get from paint alone. The room just envelops you like a warm, cozy hug, and that is the power of wallpaper. The last item on my list is leopard. When anyone asks me what my favorite color is, I always say leopard. Clearly, leopard is a mix of a lot of different colors, but to me, black and white and beige and brown acts as a neutral. Leopard can become that grounding foundation for you to start layering in more colors. It matches with pretty much any other color of the spectrum. It's a really great foundation for you to start building the room and mixing in more patterns or more color or more texture. Because leopard is found in nature, you could rest assured that it never goes out of style. That's it for today's video. What did you think of my list? I'm pretty sure you can deduct from today's list that I am a maximalist by nature, but it doesn't mean that I don't design minimal interiors for all of my clients. Anyone who designs professionally for a living can always guarantee that sourcing is one of the most difficult parts of the job. Looking for the perfect finishing piece for a room, shopping for that one perfect piece that has the right scale, the right proportion, the right color, the right texture, the right finish. It's a lot harder than you think. So when I see a minimalist space, I could really appreciate the attention to every single perfect detail. But when I see a maximalist interior filled with all of these really beautiful antiques, I always think, oh my gosh, I can't imagine the time, the energy, and the effort it took to curate every single item. The goal of today's video was to help you celebrate your unique individuality and let that freak flag fly high. If you love today's video and you want more design trends I love, but most of you hate, please give this video a thumbs up. We might even turn it into a full-blown series. On the flip side, I would love you to comment below and let me know if you agreed with anything from my list, if you disagreed with anything from my list, was there anything that you wanted to add? I also want to make a follow-up video with design trends that I hate that most people love, so I think that would be really fun to film as well. Share this video with anyone you know who loves interior design as much as we do, and of course subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Click that little notification bell to be notified of new videos that we drop every single Tuesday. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next week.